At 1:47 a.m. on February 1st, 2026, a doorbell camera stopped transmitting at a home in the Catalina foothills just north of Tucson, Arizona. At 2:28 a.m., a pacemaker inside that same home lost its Bluetooth connection to a phone sitting on the nightstand. 41 minutes. Between those two timestamps, someone entered the home of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, the mother of today's show host Savannah Guthrie, and removed her so completely that over 400 investigators with helicopters, cadaver dogs, and FBI resources have not found a single trace of her in 7 weeks. Everyone covering this case talks about the 41 minutes, but nobody has walked through them, not minute by minute, not action by action, not with the evidence mapped against the clock. That changes now, because when you reconstruct what had to happen inside that window, the timeline does not just tell you how this crime was committed, it tells you who could have committed it and who could not. To understand the 41 minutes, you need to understand the hours that preceded them. On January 31st, Nancy Guthrie took an Uber to her daughter Annie's home at approximately 5:32 p.m. The sheriff confirmed the Uber driver has been interviewed and is not under suspicion. Nancy spent the evening having dinner and playing games with her family. At approximately 9:45 p.m., her son-in-law, Tommaso Tioni, drove her home in his blue Honda CR-V. The sheriff confirmed to the New York Times that Tioni walked her to the door and said he confirmed she was safely inside. Nancy's garage door opened at 9:48 p.m., and then the house went quiet. Nancy had essential medications on the kitchen counter. These were not supplements. The sheriff confirmed they managed serious conditions that could become life-threatening without daily doses. She had a pacemaker that synced data through Bluetooth to her iPhone, which was charging on her nightstand. Her hearing aids were in the house. Her car was in the garage. For the next 4 hours, there is no confirmed activity at the house. No alerts, no camera triggers, no unusual signals. Then, at 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera went dead. Not from a software glitch, not from a power outage. The sheriff confirmed it was physically disconnected. Someone was on that porch, and their first action was to disable the one device that could identify them. Let me walk you through what the FBI footage actually shows. The suspect is male, estimated 5'9" to 5'10", average build. He is wearing dark clothing, a ski mask, black nitrile gloves, and an Ozark Trail 25-liter backpack, a Walmart exclusive that retails for about $20. He is carrying what appears to be a handgun in a belly band holster worn over his jacket in an unusual position. Facial hair, described as a mustache or goatee, is visible beneath the mask. FBI Director Kash Patel confirmed this footage was not available immediately. The FBI had to work with Google to recover residual data from back-end servers because Nancy did not have an active cloud subscription on her Nest camera system. The cameras could detect motion and send alerts, but they were not recording continuous footage. That detail matters. It means the cameras were functionally decorative, and whoever planned this crime either got lucky or knew that. Now here is where this case either makes sense or falls apart. Because 41 minutes is not a number. It is a story. And every minute of that story demands a specific action. Let me put 41 minutes in context. Former homicide detective Ted Williams reviewed this timeline publicly and stated that the duration indicates the individuals involved possessed detailed knowledge of the property. Professional burglars, people who enter homes for a living, operate on 5-minute windows. Get in, take what you came for, get out. 10 minutes is sloppy. 15 is reckless. Every additional minute exponentially increases the risk of a neighbor hearing something, a car driving past, a dog barking, a light turning on. 41 minutes is not a burglary. It is something else entirely. So what had to happen? Minute 0, the camera goes down, and the suspect is on the porch. Body language experts who reviewed the footage used a specific term for how he moved. They called it ownership behavior. He does not search for the camera. He walks directly to it. He taps it twice, casually, like someone checking a piece of furniture they pass every day. He then covers the lens with foliage from a potted plant on the porch. When that does not fully disable it, The device is physically disconnected. This sequence tells you something critical. The suspect knew where the camera was. He knew what was behind it. He had a plan for disabling it that involved materials already present on the porch. A stranger would scan the area first. A stranger would look up, look around, orient themselves. This person walked to the camera like he was walking to his own front door. Now the next few minutes involve entering the property. Nancy's home has a wrought iron security gate at the front, standard for Tucson desert homes. In the FBI footage, the suspect passes through without forcing anything. No tool marks, no prying, no kicking. Either Nancy left the gate unlocked, which is plausible for an 84-year-old woman who had felt safe in the same neighborhood for 4 decades, or it was already accessible. Beyond the gate, the suspect has to enter the house itself. The sheriff has not publicly detailed the point of entry, but he confirmed that the crime scene showed signs that a crime had taken place inside the home. Fox News drone footage showed smashed floodlights at the rear of the property. The doorbell camera faces the front. If exterior lighting was disabled at the back while the camera was handled at the front, then that suggests coordination, 2 actions at 2 positions, timed together. Now the suspect is inside. Nancy is 84 years old, described by the sheriff as a woman of great sound mind. She is asleep in her bedroom. Her phone is on the nightstand. Her pacemaker is syncing. Her medication is on the kitchen counter. The suspect has to locate her. In a house he either knows or has studied, this takes seconds. In a house he has never been inside, this takes longer and involves noise, opening doors, navigating unfamiliar hallways in the dark. Then, he has to confront and control her. Nancy is elderly but mentally sharp. There is a confrontation of some kind. We know this because Nancy's blood was found at the front porch and along the driveway. The blood was confirmed to be hers. Now, CNN analyst John Miller noted that whatever type of crime this started as, things began to go wrong very quickly. That blood suggests a struggle at or near the threshold. Former FBI agent Johnny Grusing theorized that the suspect may have lured Nancy to the porch rather than entering to take her from her bed. If she opened the door, if she stepped outside because she recognized the person or was told something that made her feel safe, the confrontation could have happened right there. An 84-year-old woman does not open her door at 2 in the morning for a stranger in a ski mask. She opens it for a reason. Once Nancy is controlled, the next sequence is preparation for removal. She has to be moved from wherever the confrontation happened through the house or across the porch and into a vehicle. She weighs approximately 150 pounds. She has limited mobility. She is in distress. Former FBI negotiator Chip Massey told reporters that controlling an elderly hostage while managing logistics requires coordination that a single operator cannot sustain over this duration. One person handling Nancy while simultaneously watching the street, carrying equipment, navigating the property, and clearing an exit path is operating under extreme strain. 2 people divides every task. One handles Nancy. One manages the environment. One guides her. One watches the road. The sheriff himself has not ruled out the possibility of an accomplice. And here's a detail that does not get enough attention. Nancy's essential medications were left on the counter. 41 minutes inside the house. More than enough time to grab the bottles. If this was a kidnapping for ransom, the medication is the most important item in the building. A dead hostage is worth $0. You need her alive for the negotiation. Leaving the pills behind tells you one of 2 things. Either the person who took her was so unprepared they did not understand an 84-year-old woman with a pacemaker needs daily medication, or the medication was left behind deliberately because keeping Nancy alive long enough to collect a ransom was never the objective. At 2:28 a.m., Nancy's pacemaker loses its Bluetooth connection to her iPhone on the nightstand. This is the last electronic signal associated with her. Bluetooth has a functional range of roughly 30 to 50 feet, depending on walls and interference. The moment the pacemaker signal dropped, Nancy was being moved beyond that radius. She was either being carried out of the house, placed in a vehicle in the driveway or on the street, or was already in transit. The phone stayed behind, the hearing aids stayed behind, the medication stayed behind, the car stayed in the garage. Everything that could track her, treat her, or connect her to the outside world remained inside that house. At 2:28 a.m., Nancy Guthrie became invisible. Now step back and look at the completed timeline. Because the clock does not just tell you what happened, it tells you what kind of person did this. First, the 41 minutes eliminates the opportunist theory. A random intruder does not spend 41 minutes inside a home. Random home invasions are fast, chaotic, and loud. They do not involve disabling specific cameras, passing through gates without tool marks, and spending 3/4 of an hour inside a property at 2 in the morning. This was planned. The duration alone confirms premeditation. Second, the camera knowledge narrows the field dramatically. The suspect knew where the Nest camera was. He walked to it without searching. But more importantly, whoever planned this operation understood that the camera was not actively recording to the cloud. Nancy did not have a paid subscription. The FBI had to recover the footage from residual back-end data through a partnership with Google. The only people who would know those cameras were functionally props, or the people who spent time in that house, the people who helped Nancy with her technology, the people who knew she never paid for the service. Third, the gate. No forced entry, no tool marks. In a neighborhood of wrought iron security gates, the suspect passed through as if the path had been cleared. Whether Nancy left it unlocked or someone ensured it would be open, the result is the same. The suspect entered without resistance at the perimeter. Fourth, the medication. This is the detail that reframes everything. If this was a ransom operation, the pills are more valuable than jewelry. They are the insurance policy that keeps your hostage alive and your leverage intact. Leaving them behind is either catastrophic incompetence or a deliberate signal that the ransom story was never real. And the ransom evidence supports that reading. Multiple ransom notes demanding $6 million in Bitcoin were sent to media outlets, not to the family directly. A Bitcoin wallet was created. The FBI sent a small amount as a trap. As of today, there has been minimal meaningful activity. The family offered $1 million for information. Savannah Guthrie said publicly she was willing to pay, and whoever is holding that wallet has not collected $1. A California man named Derek Colella was arrested for sending fake ransom texts directly to Annie Guthrie and Tommaso Cioni demanding Bitcoin. He confessed he had no connection to the abduction. He had simply seen the news coverage and tried to exploit it. The FBI confirmed they are investigating a separate ransom demand as potentially coming from the actual abductor, and their operating theory is that the kidnapper is from the Tucson area. So what the 41 minutes tells us is this: the person who entered Nancy's home was not a stranger improvising in the dark. They knew the property. They knew the cameras. They knew the gate. They knew the layout well enough to spend 41 minutes inside without rushing. They either knew or did not care that the medication was critical. And the financial motive that was supposed to explain the crime has produced nothing but silence from a dead Bitcoin wallet and a copycat from California. Now, add the car. A couple named Elias and Danielle Strategouleas live approximately 2.5 miles from Nancy's home on a residential back road called Camino Royale. Their street-facing Ring camera recorded vehicles passing between midnight and 6 a.m. on February 1st. One appeared at 2:36 a.m. Nancy's pacemaker disconnected at 2:28 a.m. NBC correspondent Liz Kreutz drove from Nancy's house to the camera location. 6 minutes. 2:28 plus 6 minutes of driving puts the car at 2:34. It appeared at 2:36, 2 minutes of margin. The margin you would expect if the driver paused at the end of the street, removed a mask, checked mirrors, and then accelerated onto the back road heading away from the scene. Retired NYPD Detective Pat Broen assessed the vehicle as a Kia Soul. The sheriff confirmed the timing matches the abduction window. But here's what makes this footage significant beyond the timing. The Strategouleas live outside the 2-mile canvas radius that investigators established. Law enforcement never knocked on their door. They came forward voluntarily after watching the news and checking their camera. The question that raises is how many other cameras between 2 and 5 miles from Nancy's home captured relevant footage that was never requested because the search perimeter stopped half a mile too short. 7 weeks into this case, the investigation has produced significant evidence but no arrest. Here's where things stand based on confirmed public reporting. DNA investigators recovered biological evidence from inside Nancy's home. The sheriff described it as partial DNA that may be the suspect's. It is being processed at a private laboratory in Florida using genetic genealogy, the same technology that identified the Golden State Killer after 40 years and connected Brian Kohberger to the Idaho murders within weeks. DNA from gloves found about 2 miles from the home was tested. The sheriff's department found 16 pairs of gloves in the area, most of which were traced back to search team members. One glove's DNA was matched to a local restaurant employee with no connection to the case. Other samples are still being processed. The DNA does not match any of the 19 million profiles in CODIS, the FBI's national database. That means the person who left it has never been arrested for a qualifying offense, or their conviction predates mandatory DNA collection in their jurisdiction. Either way, genetic genealogy does not need a direct match. It needs one distant relative in a public database, one branch on a family tree, one name. Surveillance. Investigators have now broadened the dates they are examining. According to News Nation, the FBI has been specifically interested in neighborhood camera footage from January 24th, approximately 1 week before Nancy was taken. 4 major news networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, and CNN, independently reported through law enforcement sources that the masked suspect visited Nancy's home on multiple occasions before February 1st. The sheriff's department called that reporting purely speculative, stating there are no timestamps to prove multiple visits. That contradiction between the networks and the sheriff has not been resolved. The damaged utility box. The Pima County Sheriff confirmed they are investigating a damaged utility box near Nancy's home that could be connected to internet outages reported that night. Neighbors told News Nation their security camera footage from that evening is either missing or marked not available. FBI agents went door to door on March 6th, 34 days into the case, asking whether anyone had experienced internet problems the night Nancy vanished. The family. Sheriff Nanos officially cleared all Guthrie family members, including siblings and spouses, as suspects on February 16th. He called the family victims and stated they have been fully cooperative. However, Annie and Tommaso's blue Honda CR-V, the vehicle Tommaso used to drive Nancy home that night, remained in law enforcement custody as of March 11th. According to Parade, the sheriff's department confirmed the vehicle was still being processed with no date set for return. Former FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer noted that all searches of family property have been consent-based, not probable cause warrants, which she said suggests investigators do not have evidence of family involvement. The suspect profile. The FBI described the individual as approximately 5'9" to 5'10", average build, with facial hair visible beneath a mask. Former FBI profiler Jim Clemente identified what he believed was a tattoo or marking on the suspect's right wrist. Investigators are looking into the unique holster the suspect was wearing and have been checking local gun shops to try to match it. The sheriff's latest statements. In an NBC interview this month, Sheriff Nanos stated that investigators believe they know why Nancy's home was targeted. He called it a targeted attack, not random, but he would not disclose the suspected motive, citing the integrity of the investigation. He also warned the public not to assume they are safe, saying the suspect could strike again. Former FBI agent Jason Pack told Page 6 that Nanos made an error by suggesting the suspect could strike again without providing the public with actionable information about who might be at risk. Another former FBI agent, Steve Moore, offered an assessment that may explain why the $1 million reward has not produced a resolution. He said the reason is straightforward. The only people with knowledge of what happened are the people who did it. The circle is sealed. 41 minutes. That is all it took to erase an 84-year-old woman from her own home, to separate her from her medication, her phone, her hearing aids, her car, and her family, to leave nothing behind but blood on the porch and a pacemaker signal that stopped at 2:28 in the morning. But 41 minutes also left a blueprint, a detailed record of what this person knew, how they moved, and what they prioritized. The camera knowledge, the gait, the layout, the medication left behind, the timing against Savannah's Olympic travel schedule, the dead Bitcoin wallet, the 2-minute margin on the back road at 2:36 a.m. Every one of those details narrows the field. Every one of them points towards someone with specific knowledge of Nancy Guthrie's home, her routines, her technology, and her family's schedule. The evidence does not describe a stranger. It describes someone who had access that only comes with time. The DNA is processing. Genetic genealogy does not require a confession. It does not require cooperation. It requires one relative in a database, one match on a family tree. And when that match arrives, the name it produces will be measured against the blueprint, those 41 minutes left behind. Nancy Guthrie has been missing since February 1st, 2026. The family reward is $1 million, payable in cash. Tips can be anonymous. If you know something, the infrastructure to end this case with a single phone call exists and is operational right now. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and tell me in the comments. After seeing the 41-minute timeline reconstructed, what detail stands out to you the most? Because the next video in this series is going to examine the man responsible for investigating those 41 minutes and why his history may explain why this case is still unsolved 7 weeks later.